Carl will probably join us later, but when you get the heads up, you can probably start, because we have our 4, which is a quorum.
All right, good afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Design Review Board to order. John, would you call a roll call for us, please?
We are aware that Haley Helzer won't join us today, and of the remaining 5 members, we expect all in attendance today.
Okay, thank you. The chair requests that staff confirmation that Kansas Open Meeting Act required notice has been properly provided.
Yes, and to explain this item, when we draft your agenda, usually the first thing we do is run it over to our city clerk, who posts that on the city websites. There are individuals who subscribe to various boards, be they city commission or county boards, and even the design review board has about 75 requests for a subscription, so they'll get a notice when a meeting is occurring and they can find out what's on the agenda. And that is done by referring that over to the city clerk, and she gives us a email on 4 o'clock on Friday evening once that's posted, and we are very certain to post that out, because if we do not post that and there's a slip up somewhere, that's the violation of the Kansas Open Meeting Act. So that's the item you'll have before you, and you can certainly check with us at each meeting to be sure.
Okay. Thank you, John. Does the board have any comments on that? Seeing none? Okay. Well, let's move on to item 2.1, approval of the minutes of the October 10 DRB regular meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Yes. Okay. Any comments or discussion? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion that we approve the meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the meeting minutes from October 10th, 2019.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the October 10 meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving right along to item 3.1. John, if you would read that for us, please.
Yes, this is a review of application CC 19-15 filed by Peggy DeVay on behalf of the Flower Nook. And it's requesting approval of a certificate of compatibility to allow the installation of a new wall sign on the front facade of the building. The building at 208 has some history to that, and that's outlined here. It's began as in 1919 as a agricultural implement store that continued until it was a billiards parlor in the 1920s, and then hardware store again in the 1923 to 1939, and continuing to 1946. It also was location for a Pittsburgh plate glass business, starting in 1946, and later the Salina Glass Company, which would be what you may remember that for. And then in March 7, 1981, there was a fire that damaged some of the upstairs on that building, and it was used primarily as a warehouse after that. The building has 75 feet of frontage, and the front facade is distinguished by its big spandrel beams. And the design is placed a wainscot of a painted material, stucco detailing on above the storefront openings, and those are in locations that originally had an overhead door at one time. There was some stucco covering on these pilasters divide the building up. The eastern 50 feet is for the Flower Nook, and then there is a lease space on the other 25 feet. It's generally been a beauty shop in that location. This just gives you another view. It shows that it's mostly glass. The projecting Flower Nook sign was installed in 1998, and what the applicant is proposing to do is to augment the existing sign by putting a decorative surface sign on the stucco transom area above the storefront and on the storefront pier, and this shows both the before and after of that, where the new portion of the artwork would be over here on the upper transom area in that location on the basically on the second story, and then that would be 9 feet in dimension, and it would be 6 feet tall in this direction here. And that would be a vinyl product that is a heat applied to the masonry, and that gives it a very durable and a vibrant colored surface on that. The proposed sign would appear to be proportional to the building and should not dominate the appearance of the building. The sign would appear to add an attractive element to the storefront, which basically just has the one small projecting sign, and the colors and materials used for the sign would be compatible to the adjacent materials. If we could go one more, Dustin, on this. This shows an example of the product on a sign on East Iron Avenue, and this is a larger sign, of course, and this is the bonding product here. It is a vinyl product that's heat applied to a clean brick surface, masonry surface, and it adheres very well. And the product is warranted to be color fast and weather resistant for certainly as much as a painted sign would be. The sign could be considered a mural, and in our own sign code, it states that a broad definition of a sign is any illustration that is painted on a building that is used to announce or direct attention to services that are offered inside the building. And in this case, it does identify products inside the building and augments the existing sign, and that would require the submission of a sign permit application and, of course, your review. We do have an arts and entertainment ordinance that we're currently working on with some of the downtown constituents, and we may see the definition of a mural be more fine-tuned. But at this point, this is similar to the Welcome to Salina sign that was put up in 2017 by Leadership Salina, and we required both a sign permit and your review for that item. So we're consistent in that respect. As far as suggested findings today, we believe the proposed sign will be coordinated with the overall facade composition. It will emphasize structural elements and will not cover obscure architectural features. We believe the colors and materials as shown are compatible with the building, and the use of a symbol and logo signs is encouraged in the downtown. As far as alternatives today, you could approve the application as is today. You could approve that subject to any conditions identified by a majority of design review board members. You could postpone the consideration today, or in the case of a denial, there is a appeal process. We would recommend option number 2, asking that if there's any significant changes to the sign design or materials that are approved by your board, these will be presented to the administrative staff to determine whether additional review is required. Following your review today, the actual certificate of compatibility is held in advance for 14 days, and that allows for a public protest or appeal period following your review, and that's a statutory requirement. So, though we don't communicate that in the staff report, that's always a statutory requirement that we assign to every application. So at this point, staff would be glad to answer any questions you may have, and we do have the building owner, business owner here today as well.
Okay, thank you, John. Does anyone on the board have any questions of staff?
No.
The only question I would have, John, is when I was reading in there, it said, I did see that staff had mentioned about the longevity of the product and the method of removal. Is staff satisfied with information provided for that?
The staff has talked with the sign contractor on this, and she says removal is just the reverse of the application. You apply heat to it and scrape that off, and you can also use a stiff bristle brush to catch the fine material as well. So they're fairly confident that if the case there is a cause to remove that, a business change or something of that nature, it is reversible.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of staff? No? Was the applicant present, and would the applicant like to add any additional information?
Yeah. Well, go ahead, please go out up the podium, that way we can get you on mic. Yeah.
Well, one thing, this is not to do that, but the photo we have of the old store shows the beauty shop next door, and that is not accurate anymore. I don't know if that needs to be updated on the notes, but that is now a Herbalife company, just to say that's not the same process. So in the application or in the process of being a mural, we've been considering this for 4 or 5 years. We have talked to, at this point, a total of 8 different artists to get a different design. This is our favorite, not because it's floral, but because we call it an abstract floral, because we don't want to be just a florist. We're not just a florist. We are artists in kind of a conversation. We felt like it was time to do something in the promoting the culture of the downtown. Of course, promoting, the Flower Nook. Also felt like it was a pretty tasteful conversation, and it will make the flower shop show up, because oddly enough, after 38 years of business, people still don't know we're here. I'd be happy to answer any questions about it.
Does anyone have any questions for applicant?
I don't have a question, but just for the record, I don't think you stated your name.
Oh, sorry. I am Peggy DeBay, co-owner of the Flower Nook.
Thank you.
I like to think I'm the boss, but Wayne is gone. Any other questions?
No, seeing none. No. Thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
Bring it back to the board for discussion. Is there any further discussion? No. Well, seeing none then, I guess I would entertain a motion.
Okay, I move we accept the application as presented with the stipulation that if there's any major changes to the design or materials, then it returns to the design review board to be reviewed again.
I'll second that.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Motion is to approve with the condition that if there's any significant changes to design or materials, that we come back to the board. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay. And John, item 3.2, would you read that for us, please?
Yes, so our next item has been filed by DMA Architects on behalf of the Salina Regional Medical Education, LLC, at 400 South Santa Fe, and it is for the approval of a certificate of compatibility to allow the renovation of the south 74 feet of the building facade to match the existing finishes on the north facade of the current KU School of Medicine building at 138 North Santa Fe. The city records go back into the 1950s and 60s when these buildings were originally built as banks. This shows the overall perimeter of the building. The top portion of the building has been rehabbed for the KU School of Medicine, and what they are looking to do is develop the south 74 feet for the nursing unit of the building. The colored portion shows the proposed floor plan where these areas that are currently have alcoves would be built out and developed into storefronts, both here and in this location. And this would be converted, this protrusion that is currently glassed would be offices in that location, and the rest are supporting structures. But the idea is to integrate the building together because both those units are very compatible. And to do that, they're going to replace a portion of the south 74 feet facade, and this shows quickly going over existing structure. The north building is different in that it does have some different divisions and building bays, a curvilinear storefront cornice, as well as these prominent pilasters and a recessed storefront. That was looked at in 2017 and approved by this board. And if we want to go around just slightly around the building, this shows the area that currently has a metal canopy, large windows on each side, And as we go further around, this is the protrusion on the south part of the building. And this shows the area at the east part of the south part of the building. This was the long-term home of the United Way offices in this location. And then I believe our next slide shows the rest of the building here. This is a good indication. The building on the south has these panels, FS, or insulated systems with stucco on all the surfaces. And these are pretty uniform around the south 74 feet of the building. And what is being proposed at this point is the next slide, where the south building shows that the bottom 8 feet of the facade will be removed and replaced with a stone veneer finish that would be similar to the building at the north, where it has divisions starting at approximately 8 feet. And this is a stone material that's different from the stucco cover. They would retain the paneled stucco covering on the upper part of the building, but they would replace that with the stone panels and raise the windows there up further into the facade itself so that it matches that 8-foot height, and that's mainly for privacy on the inside. That servicing would be on the other sides as well, on the south. And this shows the south building, and this shows the east of the building here. And basically what that does is it takes away 2 of the alcoves there, but develops an entrance on the very south of the building where there will be a new storefront. So what you're looking at is just a variation in the materials on the outside of the structure. They would be approximately the same tone and servicing, but the stone veneer would act as an accent, as well as having windows that are both functional and, in this case, compatible with the spacing and the rest of the building. So on that, we believe that the proposed new wall signage that they have will replicate the existing signage on the north building. These would be duplicates of what's existing now on the north building, and that will be placed on both the east and west sides of that south 74 feet. The new windows would appear to be proportional to the structure, and the facade of both buildings are contemporary in nature. The proposed exterior renovation, because of that, should not negatively affect the building's overall character. And under findings, we believe that the proposed changes will not remove or damage any significant character-defining features. The building reflects its origins and renovations that took place in the 1960s, so the intact architectural features will be preserved wherever possible. Construction methods will be used to protect historic and original materials, and the proposed wall signage will match the existing signage and be proportional to the building. With those findings, you could vote to approve the application as presented today. You could approve that subject to any conditions identified by the board. If you consider that you wish to have additional information, you could direct staff and postpone the meeting to get that information for you. And in the case of denial, there is an appeal process with the City Commission. Staff in this case would recommend option number 2, that if there's any significant changes, these would be presented to the Development Services staff to determine whether additional review will be required. And likewise, this is also held in abeyance for 14 days for public protest or appeal. So at this point, staff would welcome any questions. We do have the project architect here today who could answer the finer portions of what the surface materials and the final colors would be.
Okay, thank you, John. Does anybody have any questions of staff? None? No. Okay. The applicant present and would like to speak.
My name is Don Mars with DMA Architects. John, I think, has done a very good job explaining what we're talking about doing. One of the things that the picture down here shows, and I use this picture as an image to show the foundation board as well, was the fact that we lit this cornice up very well on the front here. We're planning on putting a cornice on top of the south building that we can add light under it so that we light it in the same manner that the north building is, so that we carry on that nighttime lighted character of the building into what we're doing. The other thing I would add, the plaza that is on the south side of this building has been completed, and the city's shared with us the design and layouts of that, and there's a few modifications that are going to be made. We will be taking the landscaping material out and during construction, because we've got to get access to the exterior of the building, and then putting it back, and we have an agreement worked out with the city to do that. So those are issues. When we're done, this dark metal facade obviously is going to be gone. The ephes, or the plaster materials John was talking about, we'll retain it above basically this horizontal line that matches up with the line on the other building. We replaced the stone on the east side of the other building when we did the initial renovation in 2017, and we're using the same material and the same kind of patterns that we did there to carry around to the front. We also used some blue tile on the bottom of the facades on the front in a couple places, and in our design drawings, if you could go back to them, I'll point that out. This band across the bottom, there's the blue tile that we're talking about. There's the entrance, and you'll see that in a number of specifically chosen locations around the exterior, so that it kind of coincides with what we did on the other building to draw the two together. When this building is done, the use of it, it's used both simultaneously with both the medical and the School of Nursing. The classrooms we have in this end, it's all based on their curriculum and on their schedules as far as how things get scheduled out. So it's a very the design and the layout of what we've been able to do here is will really enhance what they're able to do to deliver the services that they're doing as far as the education and training for the nursing students and the doctors. So questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Don? I guess the one question I would have, Don, is the signage.
Mm-hmm.
The signage on the east, that's going to be, so you said similar to, or with the same as the one that's on the north right now?
Yeah, this was the proposed location we had for the sign. There's a discussion about whether or not we probably will not put that sign up, because on the east side, if you zoom out, Dustin, and go to the existing building, slide it down a little bit further this way. I want the back side, the east side elevation. The east side of this building is its entrance is the main entrance. The main entrance for the school is down here, and the main sign is on this side. There's a sign similar to this on the other side, and then the sign that's up on the gable. That gable sign will probably be on the south end of this building, on the Santa Fe side, and not on the east side.
Okay. And that'll be the same sign, and it'll be lit the same as the one on the north
Yes.
is?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. The University of Kansas is, we call it the sign czar, has dictated what the signs will be and how they're done and how they're dealt with. So it's, but I think they've done a very good job with
Right.
what they've done, and it does display quite well. What's interesting too is over just the short 2 to 3 years of time that we've dealt with this, the outside LED lighting has, the opportunities have changed significantly on what's available now compared to what there was before. So it'll be lit, but it'll probably be done with LED instead of with individual, 2 individual floods. So.
Okay. What was my other question? No questions? Nobody has any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Well, we'll bring it back to the board for discussion. Is there any discussion? None whatsoever. Okay, well, seeing as no one has any discussion, I guess I would open it up to a motion.
I recommend we go with the staff's recommendation of option number 2, and that if there are any significant changes, that they be brought back to the staff and to the board for approval.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve under option 2 that if there's any other significant changes to the project, it would come back to board for approval. And a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, make sure I don't miss anything. And John, do we have any other administrative items?
Staff has brought no further administrative items or preliminary discussion items or unfinished business before you. We do want to distribute our remaining schedule for the month. We did group a lot of your reviews at the very end of October. We're going to have one additional meeting in December 12th. And that will probably be loaded. It will have 2 outside dining license agreements that will be here, as well as, I believe, 1 other application. So you're getting about 4 weeks off, but that'll be a busy December 12th. We found it too difficult to get together around the Thanksgiving holidays without shifting it to a non-Thursday or encumbering travel. And we feel the same way about December 6th. That may not be doable. If there is a special meeting, we try and gather you together, but most applications are not that timely, so we'll work around that.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you, John. And any unfinished or other business? None. Public forum? None. Okay. I guess I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
And then we adjourn.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.